Pale Minnesota, US, kulikuwa na pesa ya kusaidia people with disability, kusaidia watu wako na challenges. Hiyo pesa yote ikaibiwa ikaletwa hapa Kenya. Wakanunua mashamba, wakanunua manyumba, wakajenga mall.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has launched one of the most explosive political attacks yet, turning his guns directly to President William Ruto. But this time, it's not just about politics, but it's money, international scrutiny, and claims that stretch all the way to the United States.
Pale Minnesota, US, kulikuwa na pesa ya kusaidia people with disability, kusaidia watu wako na challenges. Hiyo pesa yote ikaibiwa ikaletwa hapa Kenya.
According to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, millions of dollars allegedly stolen in Minnesota were not just lost in America.
Wakanunua mashamba, wakanunua manyumba, wakajenga mall.
They were laundered back into Kenya. He claims that the money was used to fund the UDA campaign, buy land, and build malls linked to individuals close to President William Ruto. But then Gachagua pauses and then drops the bomb. He says, US authorities are aware.
Sasa Amerika wamejua, wameanza kutafuta hiyo watu. Ingine ndio ilipatiwa rais kufanya campaign ya UDA. Iko mall moja iko Isli, ilijengwa na hiyo pesa. Huyo mwenye hiyo mall ni business partner ya rais. Mchele ile imeagizwa ndio imalize watu ya Mwea. 500,000 metric tons imepewa huyo mwenye hiyo mall ambaye ilijengwa na hiyo pesa ilitolewa Minnesota. Sasa tunaambia Trump amesema atakuja kuchukua hiyo watu hapa na tunamkaribisha.
But now these claims come in the shadow of earlier statements by the US agencies, which revealed that millions of dollars were stolen through elaborate fraud schemes, including allegations that some individuals set up fake kindergartens and used residential homes as false addresses to siphon public funds.
And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California, New York, and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party. The leaders and the President of the United States, we are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats. And that's why we're so frustrated.
American investigators described the schemes as organized, complex, and deeply rooted. But now here is what the conversation becomes even more sensitive and even dangerous. During the discussion, panelists remind viewers that fraud investigations target individuals, not communities. But yet, political narratives has taken a life of their own. Old statements from the Trump era resurface, including controversial policies and rhetoric around immigration enforcement, fueling fear, misinformation, and political exploitation.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too. I can say it about other countries too. We don't want them the hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. they complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, has Maduro offered to leave?
But after that, social media erupted. Some voices claims that illicit money is being investigated here in Kenya, while others push back, warning against collective blame and ethnic profiling.
President Trump is saying that he's going to deport every Somalian back to their country. And the reason being that he said that in Minnesota, there are more than 60,000 Somalians in that place. And they don't do anything for a living. They are not impacting the country positively. They are not doctors, they are not lawyers, they are not engineers, they are not into tech. They come in and then they feed on taxpayers' money. Now, if you're in America and then you are unable to get a job or you do not have a job for a period of time, the government would pay you. The government will support you, so that you can see money to eat. But then the president said that he noticed a pattern. He noticed that these people don't even work at all. They wait for other people to work, to pay tax. Then they wait for them to be paid by the government. That is how they eat. And that's how they send money back to their countries, so that their loved ones can eat. And it's like, that's like a parasitic way of living. Like you're not doing anything for this country and yet you are demanding. Now, the Somalians living in the US have called on the US government to make Sharia law, this Muslim law. You know that most of the Somalians, they are Muslims, that they should make Sharia law legal in the US. That's what they want. They don't want the US law. And the president is like, I don't understand these people.
Dollars in taxpayer money out of the country. Lou Ragoose has a look at the brand new charges today.
The 74th person to be charged in the $300 million Feeding Our Future meal fraud case, Ahmed Naji Sheikh, is the brother of one of the most notorious defendants, Abdi Aziz Farah, who was recently sentenced to 28 years in prison. Farah was convicted with a group of others of stealing $50 million of taxpayer money. Now his brother Sheikh is accused of helping him launder that money.
Now, in any normal country, this would cause a major backlash from the native population. But liberals actually want this. This is the greatest form of social justice. And anyone else who dares to speak out against programs getting robbed that are meant to feed hungry children are silenced and called bigots and racist and intolerant. And when you understand the entire game plan, it starts to make sense. Did you guys know that 25% of Somalia's GDP comes from remittance, money being sent from the United States to Somalia? So the strategy is to steal money from the American taxpayer, give Somali residents free housing, free food, free school, free health care, give them such a comfortable lifestyle that they can afford to have 4 or 5 children, while the native-born population struggles to have 1, 2 if they're lucky. And then as their population outgrows the native population, they have more political power. And then they can enact legislation that exclusively benefits Somali people, and the money that's not exclusively for them, they can just steal it through fraud. And the more money they get, the more they send back to Somalia, because that is their goal. You heard the guy say it at the Ilhan Omar rally. But speaking of Ilhan Omar, someone who openly hates America and declares her allegiance for a foreign country, here she is going to a church and berating a bunch of white people for liking Charlie Kirk, a man who stood up for America instead of Somalia.
I do believe those of you who are interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of shit.
Thank you.
Somali Kenya leaders have also stepped in, insisting they are law-abiding citizens and demanding that politics should not turn into suspicion against the entire community. But pressure builds.
Where the children are?
Yeah, where are the children? It says you have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look, this daycare center right here, no children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million.
A section of Somali Kenya Voices now demands stronger border controls, arguing that unchecked immigration and criminal networks are harming their reputation and livelihoods. They say crime should be dealt with firmly, but without demonizing innocent people.
As a Somali representative of Somalia, to directly address the claims made by the representative of Israel who spoke before me, I will make 3 points, Excellency. First, actions of occupying power in Palestine and indeed in the broader region are well documented. These actions constitute clear violations of international law. What we see today and time again are acts to terrorize civilian populations and crimes against humanity and forced displacement of a whole community, starvation of innocent people, and killing and maiming hundreds of thousands. And someone doing all these things are lecturing us today what they call genocide and things like that. I'm shocked to listen to the outrageous comments from the Israeli representative. If we want to talk about genocide, it's Israel that's committing on our own eyes every day. He represents a government that killed more than 70,000 people, civilians, including children, women, elderly, doctors, and other health workers, and patients in hospitals, destroying infrastructures, deliberately starving people in Gaza. To come before us, esteemed council, and accuse Somalia of committing genocide is just ridiculous and it's unbelievable. The other thing that I want to add is he has no idea what Somalia is and where Somalis are and what Somalia stands for. I think the history is a selective history that he has just generated on his own mind. Let me give you some lessons on this. There is a systematic, it's a troubling, Somalia is one country, one people, one religion that fought together for independence from the colonial. And Somalia is again one that's fighting terrorist organizations in the Horn of Africa as a one group, one religion, one ethnic group. And then when you say the Somaliland, that was a British Somaliland, it was two regions, the Northeast region and Northwest region. And now Northeast region is part of, which is 45% of the land and the population are part of the federal government of Somalia. What we're talking about is Northwest, which is also having a problem. Half of Northwest is now older region, which is close to the Djibouti border. And they are totally against what the Isaq people that you say, Isaq genocide. And there was no such genocide in Somalia that took place. Somalia had a civil war, and the civil war has its own effects. And we believe the civil war was also financed from outside. So to come to this place and lecture us humanity and genocide and human rights and independence and democracy, and we know what you're doing on a daily basis, is just an insult. And I cannot take it without responding to this. I thank you, Mr. President.
So after that, let's get back to Gachagua. Gachagua has insisted that this is not about ethnicity, not about refugees, not about communities. This is about money, power, and truth. That is what Gachagua claims. But now, the political subtext becomes clear.
We are requesting the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, to be kind to this country and to come through for us and to ignore that process and just do what he did in Venezuela. And Kenyans will be grateful. Now, if it is possible, he can do it as early as this week. Asingoja sana. Hiyo mtu wako pale Isili, we can tell you where he is. Atume ndege ichukue hiyo mtu. Vile alifanya pale, alichukua rais wa nchi. Na huyu Donald Trump ni matata. That's what we want him to do.
Is Rigathi Gachagua exposing corruption? or positioning himself as a rebel voice ahead of 2027? Is the US investigation a legal matter or a political weapon waiting to be activated? And also, why is this conversation resurfacing now? Let's put that aside. Finally, here in Kenya, as we all know, allegations are never just allegations. They are signals. Signals of what? Number one, signals of collapsing alliances. Number two, signals of internal war. And number three, signals that the 2027 election battle has already begun, but now it has begun quietly, dangerously, and internationally. Thank you so much for watching Havana Media. I just want to say that make sure that you put an eye on Havana Media so that we may bring you deep stories that are never told. My name is Odwor Billy. Stay tuned.